welcome to Your Mac Life for Wednesday, June the 26th, last Wednesday in the month of June 2019. I am your host, Shawn King.
And I'm Melissa King.
Hey, you.
Hey, you.
How you doing?
Good.
This is
I have 2 more days of work, and then I'm a free woman for the summer.
Yay. What you can do all summer? You're going to loll around eating bonbons, aren't you?
Oh, no.
You're in a garden for the most part.
And we'll have a trip planned.
Middle of July, there will be no Your Mac Life show or YML Daily. We are off to the interior of British Columbia, a place Melissa used to live, and her son, Damon, was born in Nelson. But I've never been that direction. We're going to take the motorcycle and go for 5 days, Monday to Thursday, maybe Friday, from here in the beautiful Sunshine Coast all the way to Nelson, BC, and back again in a circuitous route.
Yes, a circuitous route.
Circuitous? Yeah,
circuitous.
I like circuitous better.
Mm-hmm.
2,000 kilometers, 1,500 miles, 4 days, 25, in theory, 25 hours on the bike, probably going to end up being closer to 40 hours on the bike, simply because of the way you ride a motorcycle. That's going to be a lot of fun. Looking forward to that.
I got a sheepskin butt pad.
I just realized we got a bunch of stuff for you.
Yeah, because I'm not a biker and I need it.
I didn't get squat.
What do you need? You have 10 jackets in the closet. I said, do you want to have a sheepskin butt pad? And you said no.
I like the idea of the sheepskin butt pad for long distance interstate travel. When I was down in the States, it's nice to have it because you're going on a straight line for miles and miles and miles. I'm not worried about feeling the motorcycle as much. But this road that we're going on is going to have some twisty, windy bits to it. And in that case, I want to be able to, and it's tough to describe unless you actually do this, I want to feel the motorcycle. I used to have a butt pad that slid on me. And so when I was leaning one way, centrifugal force would force me the other way. And I really didn't like that feeling.
I wonder if that'll happen to me.
Even if it does, it won't happen to the same degree and it won't have the same effect as it does on me. For me, I need to feel the motorcycle to feel how it's. So, for example, if I'm leaning over in a curve and the rear end starts to slip, and it doesn't do that, but if it did, you want to be in line with the bike. You don't want to have being on your center of gravity shifted to the other side of it. So I'm not really crazy about those things.
All right, I understand that.
We got Melissa finally a good armor jacket, high-vis armor jacket. We're getting her a backrest because my bike doesn't have one of them, and it's more for comfort for you, where you can on long distances lean back.
Mm-hmm.
We've got what else we get for and the
just
butt pad
and the rain pants. That's it.
And that's right, and rain pants just in case we get rained on.
But it's an adventure.
The what was I going to say? Shoot. The longest trip will be that first leg, too. It'll be 8 hours from here to a place called Grand Forks, British Columbia, which you say is very pretty.
It's very pretty. Beautiful valley. But we'll also, we'll just take it easy. It's long days. It doesn't get dark till, close to 10 o'clock, I would say. Well, at that time, 9-ish, 9:30-ish. Yeah, long days.
The advantage is that there's a group of riders out there called Iron Butters, and Iron Butters will do regularly 1,000 miles inside 24 hours.
Oh, yeah.
I am not an Iron Butter.
No. We're going to stop and
I would describe myself,
enjoy.
And always have, as a flower sniffer.
Yeah.
I have we've got a communication system for our helmets so we can chat back and forth. And I am the first person in the world to tell my passenger, even when I'm by myself, stop anywhere you'd like. Mm-hmm. Anytime you'd like. I have no problem stopping. If you see a pretty flower inside the road, I will turn around and come back to the pretty flower. If there's and for me, I'm the worst. And we won't see too much of it here, but I know when I was riding in New England, it was awful. If I see one of those historical viewpoints or historical marker signs, I have to stop.
Yeah.
I call it brown sign disease. I have to find out what happened in this spot. It's very funny and can be very annoying for people who ride with me. It's like, oh, brown sign. Like, oh, crap. Sean's going to stop for the brown sign again.
But America loves their brown signs.
Yes, they do.
For tourism and, for tourism. But We're just not that good at it in Canada, especially BC.
Yes.
BC's like cowboy country.
And
Doesn't really have that.
part of it's because I'm such a history buff, just in general. I'm an information junkie and a history buff. So that was the worst place in the world to be for that kind of stuff. The British Columbia just has less history. It's only been settled
young.
since, it's young. Only been settled since the late 1800s, early 1900s. So it's very recent. So we're planning on the longest leg of the trip will be from here to Grand Forks, 8 hours. But if we get up early enough, that 8 hours will be fine because we plan on being on the road on the ferry by 6:20 a.m. that Monday morning. And so 8 hours later, if we were going straight through, if you were in a car, you could do it almost straight through with maybe one fill up of gas. 8 hours later, it'd be 6 carry the 1. It'd be like 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock in the afternoon, yeah.
Whereas I'm planning on being at our Airbnb location at maybe 7 o'clock in the evening.
Yeah.
So we have lots of time. Speaking of which, I don't know if you followed me on Twitter or saw my little rant on DOAMM, diaryofamadman.com, DOAMM.com. So I went to hotels.com just to get an idea of what hotels in a couple of towns that we were going to be staying in, what they were going to cost. And I saw this hotel, seemed very nice, for a ridiculously good price. Now, this is going to be the height of the tourism season. That area is not really tourist heavy, but it's still tourist season. And I saw this price and went, wow, it's a great price. Book that hotel. And then I went to another town and saw a great price. Oh, it's a great price. Book this hotel. I told Melissa, no one could worry about Airbnbs. We're going to stay at nice hotels while we're there. So I booked the 2 hotels. I get confirmation emails, and the prices jumped by 35%. I was like, what, did I make a mistake? I go back to the website, hotels.com, hotels.ca. Went back to the hotels.ca website. No, the price was the same. So I called customer service. And customer service, long story short, said, oh, our prices on that site are in U.S. dollars. Why are they in U.S. dollars when I went to hotels.ca using my Canadian hotels.ca account, little Canadian flag up in the top that showed I was on the Canadian site, and booking Canadian hotels? Why would you do that? Why would you have it's just a number. It's just a price. It doesn't say $90 US. It doesn't say $90 CAD. It just says $90. And so after arguing with the guy for a little while, and him going, well, you should have changed the currency. Why should I have changed it? Why would you expect the customer to change the currency when they go to the Canadian hotels.com website? That's insane. So either cancel the reservation or honor the original price. Well, send us a email screenshot of those things. Yes, I'll happily do that. So I did that. 3 days later, no response. I get cranky after 3 days. So I started tweeting to the hotels.com Twitter account. And their Twitter person pops up and says, DM us. And I gave them all the information. They were like, well, you should have expected that it would be in U.S. funds. No! There is no reasonable way you could expect a Canadian customer.
Does the whole world, like if I went on in Australia, should I, and this is only because, to me, they're making an excuse because you share a border. If I went on in Australia, would it be expected that I would be getting charged in American funds, like that it would be American funds?
That's what they're saying. They're saying you should assume it's in U.S. funds and then go and change something on their website in order to get Canadian funds. Because it'll say CAD if it's in Canadian funds.
Yes.
But how is the average customer supposed to know that? I would have assumed if I'm going to the hotels.ca, the Canadian site, that
.ca, yes,
if it's .ca, then it would, by the way, it then defaults to ca.hotels.com. But hotels.ca, I would assume that it would be in Canadian prices. So I went back and forth with this guy on Twitter for a little while until finally he said, well, I'll pass you off to our customer services team. All right, fine. Customer service team sent me one tweet. We're sorry. Basically, that was it. That's a short version. We screwed up. We should not expect our customers if they now they did rightfully say that if I'd gone to the hotels.com website and done that same search for Canadian hotels, the price would have been in Canadian dollar or American dollars.
Oh.
But because I specifically went and I showed them the screenshot, hotels.ca, they said no, we can't expect the customer to assume that's going to be in U.S. dollars and not Canadian dollars. So they gave us the refund. They gave us 35% back. We saved
a tank of gas.
We saved several tanks, two tanks of gas.
2 tanks of gas we saved.
2.5 tanks of gas. So
yep.
now the interesting thing is one of our listeners, Posen, tweeted this, and it's a shame that he's right. He said, we get less Posen on Twitter, LESPOSEN. I said on my tweet, I said, hotels.com snatches victory from the jaws of a pissed off customer. And Les said, most people would have given up and taken the loss. They never book with them again. Lose all around. And it's a shame that people think that way. He's also right. Most people go, screw you guys, and just never use hotels.ca. Thereby losing $75, $80. No, stand up for yourself. I was never belligerent to anybody. I was never loud on the phone to anyone. I would never call anybody names. I just knew I was in the right. Offered them a solution, honor the price, or cancel the reservation. I couldn't cancel it because they were non-refundable reservations. It's all they had to do.
Yeah.
And that's what you do. You offer them a resolution.
Yes.
You say, here's a solution that I'll be happy with. You can cancel it or honor the price. And just be insistent. Don't just say to the telephone guy and then he ignores you and then you go away. If he ignores you, go to someone else. You had a problem with a bathing suit that you ordered from a website. You ordered it a month and a half ago.
I was like, someone will be over before I get it. That's right. Exactly. But you're teaching me about this. Like, it's not just about, it's about going in and even just saying positive things too. Like, I'm trying to remember to go in and give positive feedback and go, wow, this was great, and share that. But going in and saying something and making them recognize that they're flawed in the way they do things.
It's one of the things that Canadians in general have a real hard problem with, is that standing up for themselves. I've seen it so many times at a restaurant. How's your dinner? Oh, it's not very good. Waiter comes along. How's the meal? It's great, thank you. No! You just told me it wasn't very good. Tell him. That's not very good.
Because we don't want to bother anyone, you know.
What is that? Unbelievable. That's so inconsiderate in the middle of the show.
It's true.
I'm teasing. Teasing. It's okay. Don't worry about it. If you have any your own comments with regards to customer service, pro or con, send them off to me, Shawn at yourmaclifeshow.com. Later on in our starting point photography segment, we're going to talk about colorized photos. We're also going to have our segment, I Have a Question, with Melissa. But up next, we're going to talk to our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com about a whole bunch of different stuff, all that, and much more coming up. Please stay tuned. This is Your Mac Life. Welcome back, folks. This is Your Mac Life. Thank you guys very much for joining me here on the show this evening. As always, we've got our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com on the phone with us. Jim, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. Did you happen to see this story? Last week we talked about Facebook and this whole Libra thing. We all laughed heartily over the fact that Facebook was even trying something this freaking stupid. Did you see the story on the New York Times? We talked about that last week, that Facebook had a lot of partners with this. They had Visa and Lyft and Stripe and eBay and Spotify, which sort of gave this the seal of approval for this plan by Facebook. But Facebook can't help themselves but be sleazy. Did you see the New York Times story today that said...
Go ahead.
That said that, in fact, the 27 partners, including Visa, MasterCard, and Uber, some of those partners are approaching Libra warily. They signed non-binding agreements to join the effort, partly because they knew they weren't obliged to use or promote the digital token and could easily back out, as they didn't like where this was going. Isn't this so typical of Facebook?
Yeah.
Just utterly sleazy of them. We have all these partners, but they're non-binding, though. They can back out whenever they want.
Well, but then there's another story that said that, crypto's going up because of demand for Facebook's Libra.
Yep, that's right. That's right.
I don't get it. I just don't get it.
It's funny, if only because it seems like this is the hot... Crypto is in the last 5 years has been this hot new thing. And because of Bitcoin, the valuations of Bitcoin going up and down and up and down, it's a sexy story for the media. And the media makes it sound like this is something that everyone should get involved in. Everybody can make money on it. You can mine Bitcoin right from your own computer without the media taking any responsibility and warning people that these are investment principles that they really shouldn't be involved in.
Yeah, I wish I understood even the sexiness of it. To me, it just seems like a way to lose your money.
Well, the sexiness of it comes from the idea of this is a get-rich-quick scheme, which people in general really love, and no offense to our American listeners, Americans seem to really love more than anybody else, this idea of with very little effort, you can become a millionaire. And the media loves touting these stories of these people who, turn $1,000 of Bitcoin into $1 million of Bitcoin.
Yeah, but the thing is, there's fish in every scheme, and the normal guy is the fish.
Yep, that's right.
The sharks don't lose their money. It's the fish that lose their money. So I would be a fish.
There's an old cliche in poker that says, look around any poker table you're at. Look around for the fool. If you can't see him, you are the fool.
Yep.
and that's generally the case here, that these people are a lot smarter and sneakier and more dishonest than you are, and therefore they're going to rip you off. So why take the chance?
Somebody has to lose money.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
And it's not going to be the sharks.
That's
so
right.
I know that will be me.
It is tempting, though, for people to say, hey, all I have to do is, put in $5,000, $10,000. And the way Bitcoin goes, I'll make that back before the end of the summer. That's the problem. It is and looks too easy. And I can't see Facebook, with their problems already, being able to get anyone other than get rich quick schemers involved in this. And it's going to blow up in 6 months or a year. Facebook's going to look bad. People are going to lose millions upon millions of dollars. And their so-called partners, like Lyft and MasterCard, are going to come out smelling like roses because they'll be able to pull out because it's a non-binding agreement.
Yep.
Speaking of Facebook, I didn't realize this guy, David Clegg, was the former deputy prime minister of Britain. The vice president of global affairs attacked Apple. He said that Facebook is free. It's for everyone. Some other big companies make their money by selling expensive hardware or subscriptions. They're an
But he wasn't serious. He wasn't serious when he said this. I mean,
he wasn't?
Well, surely he couldn't be.
He was. That's the problem. He said they, air quotes, are an exclusive club available only to aspirant consumers with the means to buy high-value hardware and services. So I guess you're not taking him at face value.
Well, I thought it was a joke.
Why would you think it was a joke?
Well, because no. Really? He said that?
He did. He in fact said that.
Wow. So Facebook is free.
Yes, Facebook is free. It's for everyone. He says our services are accessible to students in Guatemala, cattle farmers in the U.S., office workers in Mumbai. More than 2 billion people use our platform because they can, he said. What's the problem with that statement?
Well, I mean, where do you want to start? Jeez.
My first problem was the only reason those people can use your platform is because of those other companies.
Well, there's that.
If it weren't for Apple and Android phones and Windows machines, people couldn't get on Facebook, you asshat.
And it's not free.
It's not free. It's free. See, and I love this kind of thing about these people. It's free in a very narrowly defined monetary kind of way. He's right. It doesn't cost a dime to set up a Facebook account. Therefore, 2 billion people haven't paid Facebook a dime to log into Facebook. But it is by no means free if you care about data and privacy and security and your friends' data and your friends' privacy and your friends' security. You spend a lot of money, a lot of time and effort with Facebook.
Yep. Yeah, what a crazy thing to come out and say.
He's trying to defend Facebook from the perceived attacks by Apple. That Apple has said, you're not our customer, we don't care about your data, that kind of stuff. But
I don't think they were perceived attacks. I think they were attacks. I mean, let's call spade a spade here. I mean,
they were in fact attacks. Make no mistake about it.
Jeez. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing perceived about what Tim was saying there.
So they're being attacked, and of course they're going to defend themselves, and I have no problem defending themselves. But this particular defense is idiotic. To say that, we're free and Apple charges you $1,000. Well, yeah, they do, but guess what? After I give that Apple $1,000, they leave me alone.
Well, and not only that, they leave you alone, but then they go on to help protect you from the sharks like Facebook.
Yes. They're actively trying to protect us from the crap that Facebook is trying to do to us. You saw the story
Wow.
just today, Instagram, which Facebook owns. Instagram has announced they're going to be serving up even more ads to us. My first thought was, how?
Oh, yeah.
Every third post I see on Instagram is already an ad.
Yep. How are they going to do that?
They're going to put it in that exposure field. So you have your Instagram feed of the people that you follow, the pictures that you see, and they've got ads every third post there. But then when you go into the search field or the explore fields, I said exposure, I was wrong. The explore field, there haven't been ads there in the past. Now they're going to start putting ads in that explore section.
Well, of course.
I'm surprised that they have. I don't use the explore section, so I didn't know. I mean, I literally am surprised that they haven't already put ads in that section.
I am shocked.
Even though I
shocked
don't,
that they didn't have it.
That's right.
I mean,
exactly.
I mean, that seems like an opportunity for Facebook to, God.
Absolutely shocked that they already didn't have that. I think.
But you know what? I mean, if you look at Instagram and your feed, and every third one is an ad or whatever, there are a lot of companies using it because there are a lot of people there using it. Yes, it's free. No, it's not. I mean.
But part of the Instagram ads and why so many companies use them is that they're generally fairly inexpensive. They can also be fairly well targeted as well too. So it's a big advantage for those folks. The problem is that I rarely see reputable companies posting product. I'll see ads for Toyota Canada, big picture kind of ads of, hey, just buy our cars. But when it comes to specific items, the vast majority of things that I personally anyway see on Instagram are for failed Kickstarters or straight up ripoffs of other people's products. Crappy photography stuff I see a lot because of my Instagram feed. I see a lot of crappy products for photography that people are getting ripped off on.
I see some good music stuff in
Do you?
there,
Yeah.
and these are from companies that I respect. That
Interesting.
they do it, and I mean, yeah, you can't argue with. Do you want to be in front of these billion people or
Yep.
whatever they have on Instagram? I get it,
But it's not
but
even a billion people. It's a subset of that, but it's a very targeted subset. I looked at
right.
doing ads for my starting point photography classes, and I can get it targeted to just this general area of the Lower Mainland, and targeted to just my target audience, which is women aged 35 to 65. And really, really narrow it down, and then not spend a whole lot of money, more money than I had, but for a company, not spend a whole lot of money to get a bunch of impressions on Instagram. How effective those are, I don't know. I haven't used them, but it you can see why it's a valuable resource for a lot of, especially smaller companies.
Yep.
Let's move on to the next story. It was announced earlier this afternoon that Apple has hired a ARM architect, I guess you could describe him, from the folks at ARM. And this guy, I think he's been working there since May, I want to say. When it comes to importance of these kinds of hires, on a scale of 1 to 10, how important do you think this one is?
Well, when you're talking chip stuff, I would say they're all important. Yep. Every one of those guys is important. It's just, I mean, that's some crazy smarts that you got in there.
This guy in particular, he's the lead CPU architect for the ARM company. He was the lead CPU architect for Intel for between 2004 and 2009. He was a chip designer at AMD between 1996 and 2004. So this guy has been around for a long time designing chips and architecture. And we all know Apple has become a very big chip manufacturer themselves. Do you think this directly leads to the supposition that this means that we will have ARM-based Macs in 2020?
We've been talking about ARM-based Macs for a while, and will we have them? Probably, because Intel seems to have hit a wall.
Yeah.
And they can't fix whatever it is that the wall that they hit. And on mobile chips, Apple has fixed that. They've gone. Apple has the fastest chips in the world.
Yep.
So it does make you wonder that this guy worked for Intel, and Intel's the one that can't fix their own silicon. But otherwise, I mean, this guy is obviously really, really smart, and Apple wants to move in a direction. Now, it'll be interesting to see where he can take it.
Do you think he was hired for the iPad chips, which are also ARM-based?
He could have been, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, you don't know what Apple is thinking here. There's some obvious public problems that Intel has. So could Apple look to go to an ARM chip on the Mac? Well, yeah, they could. I mean, is that going to screw up some other things for them? It could. It's a big thing, but there's more than just the Mac here, and people are focused on the Mac with this. He could be working with the other chips too.
Yeah, that's why I would be reluctant to jump to the conclusion, as Mac Rumors said, rumors of ARM-based Macs as early as 2020. No, I don't think that's going to happen, if only because that's the kind of thing you've got to let developers know about well in advance. I don't think, I think if Apple was going to go ARM-based, they would have announced it at this past WWDC for ARM-based Macs in 2020. I think the next time, their next opportunity will be at the 2020 WWDC for ARM-based Macs coming a year after that, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think it's more likely that this guy is at the very least going to cut his teeth at Apple on the iPhone chips and on the iPad chips. I think that makes more sense, that that's where this guy, at least initially, is going to focus his efforts.
Well, Apple, I mean, this guy is like I said, obviously very smart, but the other people at Apple are no slouches. Look what they've done with their chips.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, I mean, they're just incredible. And if you need a comparison, just stop off at a Best Buy or something and try some of the other phones that are out there.
Yep. Let's move
They're
on.
not so great.
Move on to Apple. Apple said that it had acquired on Tuesday a self-driving startup called Drive.ai. The company told state lawmakers that it was closing its business on Friday, laying off 90 workers. According to Axios, Apple has hired dozens of their hardware and software engineers, along with 5 former Drive employees who have changed their LinkedIn profiles to say they left Drive in June and joined Apple in the same month. A lot of folks are going to resurrect the rumors of an Apple self-driving car. What are your thoughts with this Drive AI acquisition?
Well, I mean, I will go back to what Tim said over and over again. Apple acquires companies all the time.
Yep.
And this one got a lot of attention because it's driving AI. And, you know, they acquire all kinds of companies. So is this a car? Is it more work on the software? I mean, you know, Apple made some big changes to its own AI software car team.
Yep.
And hardware team. So maybe they hit a brick wall. Maybe there's something that they couldn't figure out. So they needed, you know, the patents and the technology from, you know, this company in order to move ahead. You know, it's, again, you can't jump to conclusions based on a company that Apple purchased.
I think, yeah, I agree you can't jump to conclusions per se, but I do think you can read into it, if only because, as I posted on The Loop, Apple has confirmed this, but Drive AI was focused on developing kits to convert normal cars into autonomous ones. That's where Apple's going, in my opinion. And it sort of fits in with what I've been saying for literally years, that Apple isn't going to build its own car. It's going to either sell the systems to BMW and Mercedes and Toyota, or it's going to allow customers to retrofit their cars, or actually probably dealerships, to retrofit their everyday car into some sort of autonomous vehicle. I don't think that's very likely, because that just seems to be too much engineering. Do you agree with that?
I don't think retrofitting would work.
Yeah, neither do I.
I really don't. You know, if you're going to build it out of the factory, that's one thing. But if one of my friends stopped by and said, "Hey, I just retrofitted my car with AI and now it drives itself," yeah, I'll take an Uber. Or actually Lyft, because I don't use Uber. So.
That's right.
You know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not a big fan of anyone who says that something along those lines. You know, I just did my brakes. Want to go for a ride? No, not until you go first, dude. You know.
No, I'm not gonna do that.
I'm not getting into your autonomous car that you just retrofitted off a kit you bought on Amazon. You know.
Yeah, and then he shows up in like a '74 Pinto, exactly. And you know. With a mattress over the gas tank in case he gets rear-ended.
Exactly. Yeah, there's no chance. And I think that's why Drive AI wasn't particularly successful. They were going at the problem in this really odd kind of way that they were either going to retrofit your average everyday car, or more likely sell kits to a dealership or to a mechanic that would do it for you. And that just, there's no way that could work. There's no way that a government would allow, a state, local government would allow just some Joe Blow to turn their car into an autonomous vehicle.
I would love to see that, though. I would. I really would.
I mean, there's a difference between a kit car and a kit autonomous car, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's interesting.
That'd be so funny.
It's interesting. Neil Seibart of Above Avalon posted a really interesting tweet. Remember when people said Apple was too late for getting into autonomous car R&D? Mm-hmm. Guess how many companies have permits for testing autonomous vehicles on roads in California?
Tell me.
61 companies.
Yeah.
Have permits for testing autonomous vehicles. Apple was number 27. So 30 some odd companies came after Apple. So Apple wasn't too late for getting into autonomous cars. The list of these companies is kind of weird. Pony.ai, Too Simple, Aurora Innovation, Nullmax, Voyage, Roadstar AI, Phantom AI. Whole bunch of companies you probably never heard of are legally allowed to drive autonomous vehicles around California with a driver in the driver's seat, of course. But still, that's a lot of companies that are doing a lot of research on autonomous vehicles.
Well, and let's not forget that some of these companies are shells for other companies. True. And their investors are, their investors could be, Mercedes, yep. And they could be, GM, and they could be all kinds of people. So we see these names show up as people that can test, but we don't know who's behind them.
Fair point. And again, you're standing by your decision of never actually getting into an autonomous car, correct?
Well, that depends.
On what?
On who's behind the wheel.
Well, nobody. This is an autonomous car. No one behind the wheel. There's no wheel.
No. Well, no, I'm not cool with that.
That's right.
No, I'm not cool with that. If I can sit behind the wheel, and that might be a bit different. And I like to drive.
Yeah.
I can't get past that. I was reading something today about AI, and autonomous cars and things like that, and I just kept getting the feeling that I love to drive. Yep. I'm going to Texas next week, and I'm going to drive from Dallas to Austin, mm-hmm. and it's going to be great.
No, it's not. That drive sucks, dude.
No,
I've done that drive. It's awful.
No. If you go during rush hour or something, it is. But
you can stand in a chair in Dallas and see Austin. It's flat as a pancake.
That's true, but. They have like 50,000 cowboy churches on the way.
They do. That's true.
So when I was down there the last time, my friend in Austin, I was actually going from Austin to Dallas, and my friend in Austin said, "You're going to see some churches and some pickups on the way."
just a few.
So I hopped in the car and said, "I've seen 10,000 pickups and 5,000 churches, and I'm an hour outside of Austin."
That's right. The thing is, what you do is don't count pickups, because that's too easy. Count pickups with gun racks. That's what you want to count.
Well, that's easy too.
No kidding.
You don't want to be the guy in Texas with the electric car, though.
That's right. There's already been stories of people messing with electric cars. You and I have talked about it before, and the temptation is just going to be too great. As long as we have a mix of autonomous vehicles, or even someone behind the wheel, self-driving cars, and humans, people are going to screw around with them. There's been, because all these companies have to report these kinds of incidences, and there are dozens and dozens and dozens of reports of people cutting off self-driving cars because they know the self-driving car will stop doing on ramps or at a four-way stop. You look over and you see the autonomous car, and it's his turn to go. Screw it, you're going to go.
Yeah.
Because
Oh
the
my
autonomous car has to stop.
Yeah, it has to.
So people are just going to continually mess with these things. Hopefully, right now it seems to be mostly just teasing kind of fun. But road rage is fairly common, and yeah, you can definitely see someone completely cutting off an autonomous vehicle or self-driving car in ways that may hurt the people in either vehicle.
Well, I think it'd be good to have an autonomous car to take to the pub.
Yes,
You take the car to the pub, and then you get out and sit in the back seat and just take me home.
That's right, exactly. But don't they call those cabs?
Well, yeah, but if you have an autonomous car.
I posted a story on the Loop from Vox. Driverless cars are coming. We'll miss the thrill of the road. That's exactly it. That's going to be. That's why I have no interest in autonomous vehicles. It's not for any other reason than, as Jim said, I like driving. I enjoy the act of driving a vehicle. I don't like rush hour. I don't like driving in the middle of the city.
No.
But Melissa and I are going to the interior of British Columbia in mid July, and luckily we're doing it on the motorcycle. But if we had to do it in the car, I'd love doing it in the car too. 2,000 kilometers in the car, that'd be a blast. That'd be a fun drive.
If you're going to the interior, you're only driving like a half an hour from where you are, and then you take a moose. You hop on the moose, and then the further you get in the dog sled.
Turn left at the first beaver.
Yep.
We're actually going to be going to the highest inhabited town in Canada, Rossland, BC. And
how many people live there?
About 12. The whole area is just nothing but little tiny small towns. But it's in the mountains, really twisty roads, and that's the thing. If I was driving in a straight line, Austin, Dallas, then maybe you'd want to be in a self-driving or autonomous car because you're on the interstate. It's 8 lanes of just boredom. Maybe then I'd want to go in the back seat, let the car take over. But for a road like this, where it's twisty and windy and up and down the mountains through the Crow's Pass mountain pass.
just when you need it to lose its GPS connection, right off the mountain it goes.
I don't think that's going to happen, but still, yeah. For those reasons, I have no interest and will never have any interest in any kind of self-driving vehicle. I like the act of driving too much, but most people don't. We have to understand that most people don't like driving, the process of driving. So for them, they're going to enjoy autonomous vehicles.
Yeah, I mean, would you buy an autonomous Ferrari?
Hell no.
No.
That's just stupid.
No, an autonomous Porsche or Lamborghini or no. Those are meant to be driven. Yep. You're meant to put your hands on the wheel and feel that car when you're driving. That's the whole purpose of it. So, yeah.
Apple has posted a story up on their website. Apple News launches candidate guide ahead of the 2020 Democratic debates. It's an interesting idea. It's a comprehensive guide to Democratic presidential candidates this election season. And our American friends need this because there's like 24 people running for the presidency, running for the Democratic nomination for the presidency. So it's going to be really confusing about who they are, where they stand, what their opinions are about this, that, and the next thing. The problem is, as somebody pointed out in the Loop on the comment section, should we be okay with technology companies getting involved in telling us about political candidates? Or is this something that should be outsourced to a neutral third party?
Well, here's the thing overall, and I say this about all countries. I don't think that people know enough about the political candidates.
Yeah.
And sometimes they make wrong decisions. And I'm not talking about the U.S. here. I'm actually talking about the U.K.
Yep.
with Brexit. I mean, a lot of people got sucked into this Brexit thing, and they told lies.
Yep.
these guys, and they won. And they lied to the UK people. And a lot of UK people said, well, after it was passed, they said, well, we just voted for it as a protest vote.
Yeah.
We never expected it to win.
That's
well,
right,
maybe
exactly.
if you had more information, and maybe if you didn't launch a protest vote, and then it ended up winning, you wouldn't be in the shit that you are right now. So I think if it's information of where people stand, and I'm sure they'll do the same thing for the other candidates that come out. But if it's information based, then I don't see a problem with that. I mean, you have to be able to use technology these days to get the information that you want and need.
Yeah.
And I just, anything that is going to be able to educate people, I think is a good thing. And I don't see the difference in Canada. Everybody was kind of cool with saying what, the TV stations and radio stations were kind of cool. Down in the US, it's really split. I mean, if you listen to Fox, you get a totally different story than you do from CNN.
Yep.
And in Canada, it's not really that way. You kind of get the same story.
Yeah.
So it's not really biased news. It's just what it is.
As someone on the Loop said, they said, I don't like these tech companies curating the news. We all know they lean a certain way, and therefore there's a certain amount of bias for what they present their users because they think they know what is best for us. They don't. Google is currently under fire for this, and I have my doubts Apple is really any better. Is that a valid complaint?
Well, no, I really don't think that is where Apple is leaning here. I mean, from what I saw, it looks a lot like they are providing information, and they curated the information, and I think that's okay as long as they do it for both parties.
Yes.
They curate the information. This is what the person believes on this, topic, or this is what they promised to do. So, lay it all out there, and maybe it will surprise some people. Maybe people will look at it and say, wow, I didn't know that person believed that. So, I don't have an issue with that.
I've always liked and they pop up every now and then, these little surveys. And you go through the survey and you say, I believe in this, I don't believe in this, I like this, I don't like this. And then at the end of it, it tells you what political candidate most represents those viewpoints. And I always find those really interesting.
I've never taken one of those.
Because it's quite often not the person you think it is, because you may think you know what that politician stands for, but it turns out maybe he or she doesn't. So that kind of stuff is interesting. I've always believed, and I know this is completely never ever going to happen, but we should have to take a test before we vote. If you don't want to take the test, you get one vote. If you take the test and pass it, you get... if you take the test and fail it, you get 2 votes. If you take the test and pass it, you get 5 votes. That way...
What the hell?
Well, that way we'll have, hopefully in theory, and this is a fantasy, this is not going to happen, a more informed electorate choosing our politicians.
Well, you're discriminating against stupid people.
Well, yes, I am. Yes, I am. I have no problem discriminating against not even stupid people. People who can't be bothered to learn about the people they're voting for.
And you should add in there that you have to post your picture on Hot or Not. And if you're not, then you lose 3 votes. And if you only have 1 vote to begin with, then you can't vote for the next 3 elections.
Okay, well, that's just ridiculous.
Until you improve your looks.
Until you improve your looks, right? Yeah. It's going to be a contentious election season. I think most information is and yes, there are biases in the media. We all know that. But if Apple is choosing from a wide variety of sources, and as Apple says, they're not doing it just with the New York Times. They're doing it with ABC News, Axios, CNN, Fox News, Politico, The Hill, New York Times, etc., Wall Street Journal, etc., etc. They've got hopefully a fairly broad range that they can describe these candidates in ways that are honest to the candidate and to their platform. The problem is how many people will seek out this information, or how many people have already made up their mind without watching any debates, without finding out anything about the candidate. That's part of the problem, is that I love Bernie Sanders and I'm going to vote for Bernie Sanders no matter what. Or I love Elizabeth Warren, I'm going to vote for her no matter what. Well, maybe there's someone out there who's better. You don't know unless you find out. And a lot of people aren't willing to find out.
Well, and I find the that may actually happen, from people that I talk to, but that
we had our most recent election here in Canada was between some conservative guy and Justin Trudeau. The conservative guy didn't have a hope in hell because Trudeau was just too damn good looking. There was no way he was going to lose. He might lose the next one, but he wasn't going to lose that first one.
Yeah. I mean, he's kind of a sexy guy.
He really is. And he was guaranteed of winning. I swear, it didn't matter what his policies were. Justin Trudeau, if for a certain age, myself and Jim and folks who are older than us remember his father fondly, hopefully, even though he was a complete jackass at times. We still have a fond memories of Pierre. And we watched Justin grow up. We grieved with him when his brother died in a skiing accident here in British Columbia. We followed along with his mother's travails. They're Canadian royalty, so he was guaranteed of winning that election. He may not win the next one, but he was definitely guaranteed of winning that one. Let's move on to the Apple Card. We talked a while back that the CEO of Goldman Sachs says he's been using it. Last week it was announced that Apple is allowing employees to use it. The funniest part of that story from last week when we were talking about it, Apple is allowing employees to use the card out in public, but asking them not to talk about it. Can you imagine? You walk up to a store and you hand this Apple Card to a store employee and they say, "What's this?" "I can't tell you."
Just swipe it.
Just swipe it. It's good. Trust me, it'll work. Huh? No, I'm calling my manager. So now,
I mean, it's obvious they're going to do it. They have to do it.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, the whole testing idea is a good idea, but now we're also seeing some of the employees are leaking this information to various members of the media, and that's fine. Have you seen anything with these news stories that has changed your mind, pro or con, about the Apple Card? Is it a card you're still thinking about getting or not interested in anymore?
I pay cash for everything now, so I don't have a credit card of any kind.
Really?
I don't.
Interesting.
I don't have a single one. So if I can't afford to do it, then I don't have the cash, then I don't buy whatever it is I want to buy.
How do you rent a car?
I don't.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm making an assumption there that proved incorrect. My apologies.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
So,
but if I was going to get one though, would I get one? Yeah, probably.
Now, why?
I would because I think it's cool.
That's what I was getting at. Is that the reason you think it's cool? That's why you'd have it? It's not a matter of you weighed the pros and cons and decided and discovered that this card is better than that card, kind of thing?
I mean, we've talked about this before, and everybody is going to have their own reasons for getting a specific card, whether it's miles or, cash back or, whatever it is. Everybody's going to have their own reasons, and they're going to go with nothing's going to change their mind. This one to me, with just cash, you get cash back, and it's all very well laid out, and you know exactly who you paid, when you paid, and all of that. Yeah, I think that's great. I'd definitely get one.
I think the really important story was written by iMore when they led with their headline, "Exclusive leaked images show how much the Apple Card weighs." How the hell do these people think that that's the most important thing that we need to know? How many grams the Apple Card weighs?
I don't know.
I don't understand that. That just makes no sense whatsoever. The Apple Card is going to be interesting because I think it's going to appeal a lot to people like you, Jim. People who think, and this is not a pejorative, people just think it'd be a cool thing to have because of the features that Apple has talked about, the daily cashback and the manage your money, and obviously no late fees. I think that's going to be a big deal for a lot of folks. There's going to be a bunch of things. The good news is, if you're like me and want other things in the Apple Card, that Apple's never going, or at least so far hasn't shown they're going to include, your present credit card will add those Apple things. I can definitely see MasterCard and Visa being forced. Go ahead.
And you don't think that that American Airlines and United are like all up Apple's ass right now to give them miles? Of course they are.
Well, isn't that something that Apple would have and should have announced at the beginning? Because
maybe they want a better deal. Think about, and we talked about this too. Think about how Apple launches things. They launch the simplest thing first, and then they add things on.
Yeah.
So maybe miles is something that they'll add on. Do you want cash back or do you want miles? Well, I'll take miles.
Well, the reason why I say this is because it seems like all these other features that I've talked about, the price protection and warranty and that kind of stuff, are table stakes for every other card. They're what's expected. You wouldn't get a card that didn't have those kinds of protections because every other card offers them in travel insurance and car rental insurance and things like that. So I think what's going to happen is MasterCard and Visa and American Express are going to see that Apple's going to take a certain amount of their business from them. So they're going to add those things, no late fees, and they're going to take a cut of their profits in order to grab hold of those new customers.
But that just pisses me off that they're doing it because now they might lose business from Apple. Why didn't you do it before?
Yep.
Because it was the right thing to do.
I agree.
Why give us these cryptic statements that nobody can understand instead of, something that we can understand? No,
absolutely.
It just makes me
mad. And I agree, but it's not like it's for me personally, it's not like it's the iPhone that there was a bunch of other smartphones out there that were crap, so I'm now going to get the iPhone. MasterCard and Visa aren't crap per se. They're difficult to deal with, but they're not so. There's so many other advantages for MasterCard and Visa that will dissuade people from getting the Apple Card if they use those advantages. For you, if you never rent a car, then car rental insurance makes no difference to you on your credit card.
No difference.
If you don't need medical insurance when you travel, then MasterCard isn't going to make any difference to you. So for those people, the Apple Card may still be of value.
Maybe.
Folks, we've been talking to Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com. His podcast, The Dalrymple Report, is available on the iTunes store each and every week. Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Shawn.
Talk to you next week, buddy. See ya.
See ya.
Folks, when we come back, we're going to have Melissa's question of the week. Please stay tuned. All that and much more coming up. This is Your Mac Life. Welcome back, folks. Thank you guys very much for joining us here this Wednesday evening, or if you tuned into the archive, thanks for being a listener of the archive. Tonight on our I Have a Question segment, Melissa has a question.
My question is, well, I guess I'm curious about Apple getting into the self-driving car business. Did they buy you told me they bought a, what did they buy? A self-driving car company business?
They have not bought a self-driving car company business. What they've done is they have hired the engineers from a company called Drive.ai. And Drive.ai was trying to, sorry, let me turn the music off, trying to basically retrofit normal cars like your Jeep to be self-driving, autonomous. Now, there's a difference between self-driving and autonomous. Self-driving cars generally are a car where you sit behind the steering wheel, but the car drives itself around, like a Tesla. We've seen what Tesla inaccurately calls autopilot. When you push the autopilot button, you're behind the steering wheel, and the car drives itself around. But you take control whenever you need to or want to.
That's autonomous.
No, that's self-driving.
I'm sorry, self-driving.
Autonomous generally means there's no steering wheel. There ain't nothing there. If the car completely takes over all the driving. You basically say, car, come get me. Car drives to where you are. You get in the equivalent of the back seat. Car, take me to grocery store. Car takes you grocery store. That's terrifying. And that isn't going to happen no matter what the nerds and the techies and the pundits and the car companies say for minimum 10 years, if not longer. Because the technology isn't there yet. The laws aren't there yet. Most of the time we see self-driving cars, self-driving, not autonomous, self-driving, is in California, in perfect conditions, on perfect roads. How many times have you driven in perfect conditions on perfect roads? Very rarely. How many times have you driven on a road that's got no center line, no yellow line, or no white line along the side, or it's dark and rainy and you can't see the lines, or in any number of other driving conditions? So autonomous cars aren't yet ready for that and won't be for quite some time. So the rumor, Apple has this secret thing called Project Titan. And it's the umbrella under which all of Apple's car stuff is being developed, all their secret stuff. Apple has CarPlay, which in your Jeep, when you get in the Jeep and you plug in your iPhone, your little screen lights up and you can do phone calls and play music off your iPhone, and stuff like that, right? Mm-hmm. So imagine that being replaced by the visualization of your iPhone. That's called CarPlay, where you can use Siri and you can Siri directly with your car, not talking to Siri on your phone, but using Siri on the car, and using Maps, Apple Maps on the screen, and being able to get text messages, be able to read them and have them be read to you, being able to have iTunes and Apple Music on your car. That's CarPlay. And what Apple's done is they've developed this CarPlay stuff, and they're selling that to various car manufacturers. Ford and Ferrari and Mercedes and Toyota will put these CarPlay systems in their car. It's not an autonomous car, and also it's just an entertainment system. I think what Apple's been doing with all this stuff is practicing on dealing with the car companies, practicing on the technology, practicing on how to do this stuff before they move into whatever it is they're going to move into. You know, a lot of people hope it's going to be an iCar, like literally a car with a big Apple badge in the front of it, just like your Jeep has a Chrysler badge on it. Mercedes has a Mercedes logo on it. People just, because they love their iPhones and they love their Macintoshes and they love everything Apple does. They'd buy an Apple toaster. If I guarantee you, if you could develop a toaster, and you can if you wanted to, that when you put the toast in and it popped up, there'd be an Apple logo in the middle, you'd sell 1 million of them. I guarantee you would. So there's a group of people who just desperately want a car from Apple because they think that Apple, the way it's done in other situations, will solve all their car problems. It won't. if nothing else, as we said with Jim, autonomous cars and self-driving cars still have to deal with idiots on the road. Until we get rid of all the idiots, the humans behind the wheel, you're always going to have tension between car drivers, humans, and robots, basically. Think of your car as a robot. And it's going to be a giant pain in the ass. And why would Apple want to get involved in that?
Well, I can see them wanting to improve software and wanting to improve the idea of the self-driving car experience.
Yes. The thing is, there's nothing inherently wrong with a car that Apple can fix. 4 wheels, an engine, and a seat. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Right? And every other car is just a variation on that theme. Internal combustion engines are going away. They'll be done in 50 years. You know, by the time Rory gets to be middle-aged, our son Rory, time he's middle-aged, he will not be driving a gas-powered vehicle anymore. They'll all be electric. They'll all be hydrogen or propane powered. They'll all be different kinds of engines. Apple's not going to fix that problem. The issue of battery life for electric cars is always going to be an issue because batteries are very, very heavy and they are very low energy. Apple's not going to fix that problem. They're not going to make 5-wheel cars. They're not going to add an extra wheel. Do you know what I'm saying? The car itself, Apple can't fix by selling me an iCar. And by competing against Ford and Toyota and Chrysler and all those other companies, Apple excludes itself from selling things to those companies. If Apple's building its own car with CarPlay inside of it, why would Ford then want to put CarPlay in their cars? They're not going to do that. So I don't think Apple's going to get involved in the whole car industry.
Well, what are they doing?
I think what Apple's doing is working on the way they do, baby steps with CarPlay. CarPlay is their first inroads to, say, Toyota. They've gone to Toyota and said, look, we have this really cool system, this entertainment system. You can put this in your car for relatively inexpensively, and your customers will love you. They'll be able to plug in their iPhones, and they'll be able to get music and talk to it, and they're going to love this thing. And Toyota goes, okay, great. That means we don't got to develop it. So they do. So then, in 2 years' time, Apple's going to go to Toyota and go, hey, look, we come up with this other idea that's really, really neat. It's putting all of these lasers and radars around your car, embedded in the car, that will then be able to see the road in ways that the customer doesn't have to worry about. We'll make your Toyota self-driving. Just bolt on these bits and pieces. And Toyota might go, okay, sure, what the hell? And they'll build on that, slow baby steps towards the future in 10 years, in 15 years, of a true autonomous car. The problem is that our laws have not come anywhere near dealing with this stuff. We're going to have autonomous cars on the road before we have sufficient laws to deal with them. And something bad's liable to happen because of that. Most likely what's going to happen is some asshole is going to cut off an autonomous vehicle. Someone's going to die. The autonomous vehicle is going to get sued. And who do you sue? The owner of the vehicle? The guy in the back seat? The company who developed it? The company who created the software? You know what I'm saying? Mm. There's just so much law here that we're completely ignoring. Instead of getting out ahead of self-driving and autonomous vehicles, we're going to be way behind. There are all kinds of self-driving vehicles out on the road right now. As I said earlier, there 61 companies have permission from the state of California to do self-driving cars on public roads. So there's 61 companies doing it now. And they're moving ahead because they know that whoever gets there first is liable to be the big dog in this hunt. But if there are no laws, this is the Wild West. And it's not going to get fixed until, literally, I believe, until someone dies in an autonomous vehicle accident.
See, I believe that, you know, we all talk about dangerous things and that's so dangerous and that's so dangerous. And I've often said, You know, the most dangerous thing you do is get up in the morning and get into your vehicle. And the most dangerous thing you do for your children is when you get up in the morning and you put them in the back of your vehicle
Yeah.
to drive them to school.
Yeah.
And what's happened is that that whole concept of us driving, it's become such a human right and that we've lost the truth of the fact is that it is extremely dangerous, even when we're all doing it and we're being taught how to do it, let alone do it with the robots on the road.
But with the robots on the road, everything gets safer, in theory. Because the robots are in theory, trained to not get too close, to not go too fast.
Well, it's different if it's just robots.
Well, no, even if it's a mixture of robots and humans. The robots will still do what the robots are told to do. So the robots will stay in the right-hand lane. They won't go past the speed limit. You know, maybe there'll be a 3-4 mile an hour leeway on the speed limit. But if your road is 60 kilometers an hour or 60 miles an hour, your autonomous vehicle will not go faster than 65.
Well, then maybe the robots will make it safer for everybody else.
That's right, exactly. Because you'll have fewer cars on the road driven by easily distracted morons. You'll have a bunch of cars who are ironically moving faster than the human cars, because a bunch of robot cars can be 6 inches away from each other, and they can move in a train right behind each other.
Because they're not changing speed.
Not changing speed.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, if you're moving that close together, anyone who watches NASCAR racing, you know that the front car breaks the wind, the cars in behind get better gas mileage.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll have better... Mm-hmm. Same with bicycling. You see bicyclists on velodromes.
Oh, I've gone
Olympics.
behind. Yeah, just to get that channel where the wind's being broken.
And the cars will do that too.
Mm-hmm.
They'll be 6 inches behind, and they'll signal to the 5 behind. All right, lead car is changing lanes, and they'll go whoop, 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 come back, and that'll all happen faster.
Mm-hmm.
There won't be any of these phantom slowing down, speeding up kind of things.
It'll be nice.
It'll all be nice. If you think of a car as simply transportation, as getting from point A to point B, you're going to love self-driving cars. Mm-hmm. They're going to be the greatest thing in the world.
Young men won't.
Well, that's it.
Lose that rite of passage
right.
to get their license and buy their big truck.
The other aspect of this, too, is that it will make fewer... Because once we have... I think the vast majority of self-driving cars, at least initially, will be fleet cars. Where... like Uber and Lyft and those kinds of things. And Uber is working very hard to become a self-driving car because they don't want drivers. They don't want to have to deal with humans. They want to be all self-driving, autonomous vehicles. Because then what you'll have is you'll just have these cars wandering around the city. No one in them, just wandering around. They'll charge, and then they'll go somewhere else, waiting for someone to call them. You won't have to own a car. You'll sign up for Uber for a monthly subscription or a yearly subscription, or you'll pay by the trip, and you'll just say, hey, Uber, send me a car, I need to go here. And that'll happen. You won't need to own a car unless you want to go long distances. Most trips for most people are fairly short, under 30 miles. The vast majority of the trips we take in our cars are under 30 miles, and mostly to work, because you work 9 to 5. You go to work, you park your car for 8 hours, it's not doing anything. You're just sitting there. Wouldn't it be better for you to get a ride to work? And then that car can then be used for other people who need to get groceries at 10 o'clock or go to the doctor at 11:30? Mm-hmm. Now, the other argument is in the cities, well, why not put this money towards public transportation and have better public transportation as opposed to having Uber autonomous cars wandering all over the city? Let's have buses. People can take buses. I don't think the vast majority of people are ever going to get really into public transit. I think public transit is too slow, too unprivate, too inconvenient. People on the loop were talking about this. One guy said to drive to this place, from his house to this place is 20 minutes. Take a bus, it's an hour and a half. You're never going to want to take that bus. You're always going to want to have that car for a 20-minute drive as opposed to an hour and a half.
Yeah, well, you have to stop for everyone else and let
That's
people
right.
get off and on, and you can't sit and work on your computer or do emails
That's right.
very easily.
It's going to be very interesting to see how all this shakes out. My biggest concern, though, is our laws. Our laws not keeping up with our technology. That's a pretty scary thing. In tonight's Starting Point Photography segment, as always, if you have any questions about photography, please send me an email. I'm happy to try to help you guys figure this stuff out. Melissa showed me this on Facebook this afternoon, and it brought up a whole bunch of questions for me. I saw it over Melissa's shoulder. Our friend Vito Mori had posted it, and of course now Facebook has to go really, really slow when I want to find something. Come on, Vito. And it's a bunch of color. You may have seen this yourself on Facebook. It's a bunch of colorized photos. A lot of the photos are ones that we already recognize. This is not Vito Mori. This Vito Mori is
Another Vito Mori?
I'm so confused. It says he's top dog at NASA. What the hell is going on? Stop it! Stop it!
Vito would love that.
Really would. These are colorized photos. Iconic black and white images restored into color. And the idea of this is really interesting. That these are photos that are fairly well known, but they've been colorized to varying degrees. And I'll show these up on screen for you guys to see. This is the D-Day landing in Normandy. A lot of these photos are photos that you've seen already in black and white, and I'm not sure if the colorization is a good thing or not. Look at some of the other photos. This wonderful photo of Jacqueline Bouvier at the time, and John F. Kennedy. And the look she's giving him. This is 1953. This photo was taken probably at their compound. Cape Cod. And lovely photo. This one's okay colorized.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this one looks like just a if you didn't know who these people were, you'd think, oh look, this is a young couple in love. I think the colorization on this one looks
beautiful couple.
Really nice. This is a very famous photo. I don't know if you've seen this one before, but this photo is of the Nobel 17 of the 29 attendees were or became Nobel Prize winners. Right here in the center is Albert Einstein. Marie Curie is over here. Niels Bohr is in this picture. There's a bunch of other very, very famous scientists in this photo. I've seen the black and white one of this.
I like the black and white.
I don't necessarily like the colorized version.
No, I'd like the black and white.
Next up was a wonderful shot that I've never seen before of if I didn't know who this was.
Oh, you wouldn't. No, I know.
I would think that, it's just
who the heck is this guy? Very interesting face.
Very
quite an interesting face.
Sad eyes, a little quizzical Mona Lisa kind of smile. Turns out it's Charlie Chaplin at the age of 27.
No, he's beautiful.
This one colorized looks really nice.
Mm-hmm.
I like this one colorized. I don't know if I'd be able to definitively tell you this was a colorized photo. This wasn't somebody in 1975.
It's not too much. It's just enough.
Next up is all of us Canadians, all of us colonialists recognize this one. This is Queen Elizabeth. The colorization on this one is not very good, in my opinion. This one doesn't look good at all. It's a wonderful shot. A lot of people don't realize that the Princess Elizabeth at the time actually had a real official job during World War II, and she worked for the Women's Auxiliary Service. But yeah, it's not a very good colorized photo. This is a wonderfully sad photo. This is Ruby Bridges, escorted by U.S. Marshals while she was trying to desegregate an all-white school in 1960. The first African-American child to go to the all-white William Frantz Elementary School in Louisiana. You asked me a question about what was about the kind of colorization. What was the question you asked me about? Whether or not? Oh shoot! But my answer was, that's right. Why do they look so different?
Mm-hmm.
If these photos were shot on digital, they'd have a different feel to them. Mostly flat. Digital, as much as I love shooting on digital, it's cheap, it's fast, it allows you a lot more freedom. Film gives a certain grain and 3D depth to it, to better separation of the background and the foreground. This is
It's like vinyl, I guess.
Yeah.
All the things that you sense when you put on a record. It's sort of a similar thing.
This is Salvador Dali, and it's really, really obvious that you can really sense the distance he is away from the background, and the film grain on it, the details in it make it look really, really nice. Monty says colorization works better in still shots than for moving pictures. Macman says no, it's not. I don't think it was the same thing, but just the juxtaposition was funny. As a shot of Coretta Scott King. I'm sorry. No, this is Rosa Parks.
That's Rosa with
along with
Martin Luther King there
in the background. This is another one that's I don't think a very good colorization at all.
No.
Would have been much. I've seen this photo before. It's better in black and white than it is in colorized. This is an interesting photo because it's of the Mona Lisa being unpacked after World War II. And I've never seen this photo in black and white, so I can't really judge it. But because it's the Mona Lisa, it kind of feels like it has to be in color.
Yeah, I wouldn't like to. Yeah, it's much better in color, I would imagine. In black and white, I think it would be quite a boring painting.
It's another shot.
Beautiful sepia color to it.
It's another shot that you couldn't definitively say what year it was from. You know, if someone told me this was in 2000, I might believe them. If someone said it was 1975, I would definitely believe them.
Oh, no. When I look at that man's part in his hair, it looks like he has braces on or something. Does he over his shoulder, the man down there to the right?
Here?
Yeah.
So he has braces on?
No, on over his pants, like over his shoulders.
Suspenders.
Sorry, I call them braces.
Like, how the hell did she
and the part in his hair. And no, to me it looks, and the other hairdo, no, it looks old-fashioned to me.
Okay, all right. This was the photo that made us both go, what?
I know.
Leo Tolstoy.
I know.
I don't think I've ever seen a color picture of Tolstoy.
No.
He was not a snappy dresser.
It's a little,
great novelist.
Like a Harry Gandhi.
Great novelist, not Sherry points out they're also touching the Mona Lisa, so that's a long time ago. That is correct.
That's true, Sherry.
I love this photo. It's just such a sweet photo. This is a photographer.
This background sucks. Let's change it.
Well, it's a photographer uses his own backdrop to mask Poland's World War II ruins while shooting a portrait in Warsaw. It feels like the photographer's like, screw it. I want a good picture. I can't get out of the city.
Sick of this war-torn
I'm
bland.
sick of the bombed out buildings. I want to take a portrait of my friend or my wife or my sister or whatever it is in a lovely setting. I can't get to the lovely setting, so I'm going to bring it to me. I absolutely love this photo. This is another one I think is really poorly colorized. Charlie Chaplin and Albert Einstein. I've never seen the original of this one, but I don't like the colorization.
I don't like it at all. At all.
I love this shot, Pablo Picasso. I've seen this one in black and white, and I actually like it better in color for whatever reason. It's a great shot.
I think Clint Eastwood. Who gave him the gun?
Does it say?
It says, I think.
Gary Cooper.
Oh, Gary Cooper. Sorry, gave him the gun. Not Clint.
This is an awful photo. The liberation of Bergen-Belsen, April of 1945. These folks have obviously just been given food probably for the first time in a long time. I don't think the colorization is very good on this one either.
It doesn't, yeah. Don't color it. Who's that? I didn't see.
This is paratroopers.
Oh, yes, the paratroopers sitting around in between flights.
That's right. Yeah. Another one that's poorly colorized, Winston Churchill and Charlie Chaplin. Now, one of the things I had an issue with this was the fact that on the right-hand side of these shots, and I'll show you up here, it says, edited by Marina Amaral. Support her here.
Amaral.
And they have a link to her Facebook page. And my first thought was, wait a second, you didn't take this photo. You aren't allowed to edit it and sell books on it. basic copyright law. Some of the photos, there was a couple of photos in the list from the American Civil War. So those have obviously fallen into fallen is the wrong word, moved into the public domain.
That's what Monty and McMahon have both said. Public domain, unless they're in the public domain.
But most of those photos would not be in the public domain. Most of those photos are going to be owned by the estate of the photographer. Even if the photographer is dead, the ones from World War II, they're still covered under copyright. Unless they were taken by someone who gave up their copyright. Let's assume they're not. You would not be allowed to do what she did to these photos and sell books based on them. So obviously, and my brilliant wife pointed out to me, the publisher would have known this too. And the publisher would have said, get the rights to these photos before you do this. So that allayed my fears. There's no way a book publisher would publish these books of these edited photos without knowing that the editor had cleared the rights with whatever Charlie Chaplin's family or Churchill's family or whoever it might be. So that.
But if that was my photo, well, I suppose it wouldn't matter. I just, well, it's just taking a lot of artistic liberty with something. Like if I was a photojournalist, and I love all this. I love these old photographs. I mean, I could just look at them and look at them and look at them for hours. But some of them aren't meant to be colored. And I guess it just disturbs me a bit that the liberty that is being taken with them, they're historical. They're not, I don't know, like why do they have to be colored, I guess is my question.
I definitely agree with you on that. Even if the colorization is well done, the photographer, so the argument becomes the photographer couldn't have shot in color. They didn't have color film then. So we can't say the photographer wanted this done in black and white because he couldn't have shot it in any other kind of way.
But that's the whole point, is that it wasn't available then. It's like if you took Ansel Adams' photographs and colored them, he deliberately did those in black and white, didn't he? Or was it the only thing available? I thought it
was the mid-50s, so he
would have had color.
He would have access to color, yes. It may have been very expensive. It may be
but he chose black and white.
So the issue becomes, what rights does the original photographer have versus what rights does the editor have? And that's really interesting. So, for example, maybe those photographs were sold to Getty Images. Let's say the photograph of Winston Churchill and Charlie Chaplin. The photographer took the picture, sold the rights of the photo to Getty Images for X number of dollars. Therefore, now Getty Images owns the photo, and Getty Images then licenses the photo to whoever wants to use it, and they charge them $10 to use it or $1,000 to use it or whatever it might be.
Okay.
So the editor, the colorizer, goes to Getty Images and says, "Hey, here's this photo. I would like to colorize it," and Getty Images would say, "Okay, for $1,000 you can do that." All of that is perfectly legal.
Okay.
Whether the artist wants that or not is a moot point, because the artist gave up his rights when he sold them to Getty Images.
That's very true. But when does something become an historical treasure? When it is capturing moments that are so moving just from a picture, which I find fascinating.
Fair question. Yeah.
When does it become historical? Where it's like, no, you don't get to color a picture of people sitting around in a concentration camp starving. It just seems a bit frivolous to me in some ways.
I wouldn't disagree with you on that. Yeah, that's seeing that particular image in color was very off-putting to me, because
let's color it.
Yeah.
But I remember, wasn't Gone with the Wind originally black and white, or did they enhance it?
No, it
was always in color. Yeah. Oh yeah, okay. Anyways, it's just.
It's a Wonderful Life has been colorized.
That's right. Yes.
And actually, you and I talked about this before. Ted Turner, the guy who started CNN, got into a lot of trouble many years ago. I think probably in the late '80s, early '90s, for colorizing a lot of movies, a lot of black and white films. He hired a company to colorize them.
Oh.
And for the most part, it doesn't enhance, it doesn't make the picture any better Just makes it different. Because especially when it comes to professionals doing it, they shoot black and white for a reason, and they're using texture and tone, not color, to draw your eye to certain aspects of the photograph. So when a black and white, especially a black and white movie, when the actor moves through the frame, through say through the lighting of the frame, the director has lit that frame for black and white. When you colorize it, you don't know what color suit Cary Grant was wearing at that point in time. So you pick a blue suit. Okay, the blue suit no longer now matches with the lighting that the director wanted.
Yeah.
So Turner got in a lot of trouble for that. I think he backed off.
Did he?
Eventually.
I mean, we watched that old Alfred Hitchcock
Suspicion.
And my goodness, I mean, some of those old classics, and straight away, I don't know why it comes to mind. Alfred Hitchcock. Do you really need color in an Alfred Hitchcock film?
You got an email from our friend Scott Randall. A couple things before I get into it. I'm thoroughly enjoying YML Daily. I find at least 2 linked articles each day. I want to and do read for more detail. Someone last week mentioned that they hadn't even opened the YML Daily newsletters for about a week. Please open them. Even if you just open them a little bit, there's tracking stuff in there that I need to know that people opened them. Because then when, hopefully at some point in the near future, when I go to try to convince people to advertise and pay for the newsletter, I can say, hey, look, this percentage of the newsletter subscribers open the email and will see your ad. So at the very least, please just open the emails. Now, Melissa, this may be of interest to you. Here at Arizona, at our temple, we've met 2 people from Australia who are now living here. One of them is our rabbi. I was not aware there was a Jewish population in Australia. Is there a significant?
Well, of course, yeah.
Yeah. Shawn, the article.
Everyone's in Australia.
Shawn, the article, Apple wants to kill the ad industry. This guy definitely has written this for his own agenda. I don't mind ads, but not when they're intrusive. If there's something that looks interesting, I'll click on it and read the ad. If not, I don't want it to be in my face. His comment about Apple creating the login with Apple option to be mandatory for apps containing the login with Facebook so they can use the target ads is BS. The only way Apple will profit from this is getting more people to buy Apple devices. Isn't that what they're in business for? With regard to the new Mac Pro, let me start by saying this is way more than I would ever need, could ever afford, or if I could afford it, could not justify the cost. As you and Jim said, this is not the machine for us. My only comment is that the measly 256 gigabytes of storage for a $6,000 Mac, that's insulting. I transitioned from my 2008 Mac Pro to the new Mac Mini. It's really fast. Access of apps or files seems instantaneous. Easily enough for anything I do and then some. I don't at present do this, but I have read comments for others who are using this Mac that can, with no problems, edit 4K video as long as it's of a one-camera shot. One really good experience is I have been able to keep a large number of apps open, including Parallels, with no noticeable lag in anything. I don't need a small 5K display, and the Mac Mini is a great Mac for the price. Thanks very much, Scott. Appreciate that. Let's see. That's it for tonight, folks. Thank you guys very much for joining us here on this Wednesday evening. There was something else. I've forgotten what it is. Hang on. Let me just check my notes real quick. Why does this say Joel? Who the hell is Joel? Why is Joel? Oh, that's where it is. Never mind. I want to say thanks as always to our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop from loopinsight.com for joining us here each and every Wednesday evening. Thanks to you guys very much for being part of the show. As always, if you have any questions or comments about anything we say on Your Mac Life, send me email to Shawn at yourmaclifeshow.com. Thanks very much, as always, to my beautiful wife, Melissa. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Hang on, I haven't done this.
Oops.
Don't read ahead. As always, I've been Shawn King.
I'm Melissa King.
And you've been listening to Your Mac Life. See ya.
Bye.
There you go. See, there's your cue.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.